Hi, everybody can hear me? I feel so short behind these podiums, but anyway, good morning. Everybody calls me Patty, Patty Baskin, but I was born with a formal name. I'm going to talk about how our journal tries to reuse and repurpose a lot of our content. We have a lot of content. For the benefit of our readers, we want to be able to give it to them in a lot of ways. So not only reusing it, but enhancing it, putting it on different platforms, just for their benefit. There are probably people in the audience here who are also affiliated with journals. I'm not going to claim that we are not typical. There are a lot of journals out there trying to do the same sort of things that we're doing. I think we have a couple of interesting, unique initiatives. We are the flagship journal in the neurology area, so I'm just going to have a couple quick slides about to introduce you to our journals. The main journal, Neurology, is the most widely read, most highly cited, peer-reviewed journal in this field. We have a lot of content coming in. We're published weekly by the American Academy of Neurology, located in Minneapolis. We have a circulation of about 24,000 of these specialty readers. A couple of years ago, in the Special Library Association survey, we were chosen as one of the top 100 essential journals that libraries want. Our impact factor is 8.3, and we've been established for over 60 years in publication. We have pride ourselves on having the outstanding the outstanding articles in the field of neurology, clinical articles and clinical reviews. We have many categories of articles, and we are only able to accept about 15% of the submissions that come to us every year. We get about 4,500 submissions. We're looking forward in the next couple of years to having some spin-off journals. We're calling them spoke journals, thinking in terms of a hub and spoke model, with neurology being the hub. We are hoping to be able to capture a little more of that content in some of the subspecialties. So we have several journals planned, and I'm not free at this point to tell you what the titles of those would be. But those are exciting initiatives for us. Our articles are all chosen with clinical neurologists in mind, so our purpose is to enhance patient care, enhance education of neurologists, and enhance the research experiences of the investigators involved in clinical research. At this point, we do have one spin-off journal, which is called Neurology Clinical Practice. So those are the two journals that we have right now, is the main journal, Neurology, and Neurology Clinical Practice, which tends to concentrate on articles related to day-to-day practice of neurologists, and we also insert articles on health policy issues and office management issues and that sort of thing. So with all of these, the content coming in and being an established journal in a specialty area, we do have a lot of content that we'd love to repurpose and enhance for our readers. So I'm just going to list the versions that we have of Neurology and Neurology Clinical Practice. We have our online version, which is the canonical version, and I think most journals are probably that is typical of the journals. We also still have our print journal. We have a version for the iPad. We have an optimized mobile website. We have local editions in other parts of the world that are print editions. And we have a number of derivatives that include those that we create for press releases, and then for other American Academy of Neurology publications. So we have a newsletter, we have a patient magazine, we have a couple of other items that we use our content in also. And Bert talked a little while ago about the mini sites. One of the things we're looking forward to is creating some mini sites where we can use our content, and also an evidence-based medicine ebook type of product that will relate back to the articles in our journal. So have to ask the question, why have all these content in different ways? Well, our surveys have shown that our readers like content in different ways. In fact, all the ways that we have them, we get very high marks on our readership surveys. So we don't want to stop doing any of them. We want to make the content more accessible to everyone. We're seeking maximum user engagement. And of course, a big strategy for us, as it is for many journals out there, is to condition and train our readers to access our content in other ways besides print, because we do see print going away in the near future. Monetization opportunities are important. We're thinking of different ways as we bring on the spoke journals that I was talking about earlier, our spin-off journals, that we'll be able to bundle or offer subscriptions to the different journals and with different values. And of course, advertising is a big part of the reasons that we're doing some things, and I'll get to that later. And of course, we want to keep our brand very strong. Throughout the years, for 50 years, the print was the brand. And so we want to make sure that as we repurpose and enhance our content in other ways, that we really create as strong a brand, keep our brand strong, make it even stronger before this print disappears. So I'm just going to talk about each of these versions very briefly. The version of record is the online version, as it is for likely most journals out there. We highlight the latest articles on the online version, the things that are most recent and relevant, so someone knows that they can go online instead of wait for their print journal to arrive by mail. Of course, the online version has the capability of containing lots of supplemental material, links to all sorts of things, including errata and PubMed and other sources that are referred to. We do have 2 CME opportunities per week with readers being able to choose. We actually have, our editors choose 2 articles per week and write the CME exams for them, so people have an opportunity to use those as part of their CME credits. Oops. And online also we have a special a rapid online correspondence that we call right-click, and we invite people to write about articles that they're reading in our journals. This is not for other opinions about other things, but only relating to the articles in the journal, and we do give them editorial review, and then we publish them from links from the homepage of our online. And of course, we do, as many journals do, we publish ahead of print, online ahead of the print issue, all our articles that are peer-reviewed. In addition, we have the ability for readers to create personal folders, to create collections, to keep their collections, browse topics, and to share with others. And we also have an online resident and fellow section, which is actually a pretty big deal, almost like another journal in itself, where we have contributions from younger faculty in research, residents and fellows, who submit their papers. We get about 450 submissions a year to this category alone, and we can only accept about 25% of those papers. So the part of the repurposing thrust here is to create a community for the resident and fellow section and get people used to reading the journal in their early years of their investigative careers. So this is just a screenshot of our online version, and just to show you what's above the fold. Excuse me. The top, and this is where I can use this, right? Okay, above the fold, we have a carousel that shows several recent articles as we put out a new issue, and then we have an e-publish ahead of print, kind of a moving carousel that shows those articles that have just been put up ahead of print, and then our right-click or online correspondence is just below it, so people can respond to articles right away, and then they would refer back to the original articles. So these are items that we do only online. We also have an iPad version. We're going to segue into that. And it doesn't contain these particular features. Our print version, although the print came first, is now really a derivative version of Neurology, and Neurology clinical practice. And I think this is probably typical of many journals now. It's an option. Readers can opt out. We'll probably have, as I said, an eventual, it'll either go away or we'll have a transition where we'll have a print-on-demand option. And of course, it's limited. You can't have links and that sort of thing. But again, the branding is strong. We have, covers with strong branding. And one reason that we have stayed with print, as many journals have to this point, is that the advertising is wonderful. Our advertisers like the print. Neurology has been ranked #1 in our specialty for years as far as eyes on page, the PERC scores go. And so we have a solid advertising clientele, and that's very important to us. And last but not least, we have, in our surveys of neurologists, we found that not only the older neurologists, everybody says, the older people always want the print, but even our residents strongly prefer, there's a real demand to still have a print journal that they can go to and carry around and read in bed or whatever they do with it. So both of our journals do have our iPad versions. And so we've tried to do a few different things with our app for the iPad. So we have all the neurology content there in the sense of the articles that are in the print version, but we have some other items that are not in the online or the print versions. So we do add some videos that people can't find otherwise. We really want to push people to the online version because our editor really likes it so much. To the app version because our editor likes it so much, and because we found that people who start using the iPad don't want anything else after a while. One of the things we have is a reflections section, which is a humanities sort of thing, in which our authors will write maybe a poem or about some experience they've had with patients, and they're interesting and often emotional, moving sorts of experiences. And we ask the authors to record in their own voice. We help them record these pieces, and we have a button on the iPad so that they can listen. And this is the only place we have this available. But people can go to the iPad if they want to hear these recordings. We also do about one clinical guideline per month at the American Academy of Neurology. We peer review and publish those guidelines. And so one thing we're doing now is to have a special issue of just the guidelines, the 12 guidelines published that year on the iPad version. So if someone wants to see all the guidelines together, they know they can go to the iPad version to find that. I mentioned our resident and fellow section. Once a year for our annual meetings, they publish a little highlights booklet of some of their top articles in different categories. And so now we're publishing that on the iPad. So if you didn't pick up this print copy, limited edition at the annual meetings, you can go to the iPad to see it. The same for a section we call Clinical Implications of Neuroscience Research, which are basic research articles written by a very popular author, and we've had a number of requests for a booklet or something of these things. So we're publishing a yearly issue now on the iPad that people can go to find this. And we have our full editorial directory with all our editorial board photos only on the iPad. The ads have been tremendously successful no surprise, on the iPad, people can go in, they can interact with them. We can monitor the click-throughs, and they're, of course, the most popular ads, as we can tell, that we've ever published. And we did kind of a unique thing. In order to get advertisers to commit themselves to advertising on the iPad, we decided to offer it to all our print advertisers because we have this solid print advertising background. So we just raised our rates to 150% what we were charging them already and told them we put their ad on the iPad. Now most of them are telling us that they're willing to pay the same rate to mainly just to be on the iPad. If we drop print, we're not going to change the rate. So it's being able to the advertisers being able to see that their ads are truly seen and clicked through, and then sometimes interactively played with, it has been really interesting to see. And of course the iPad is a fun portable reading experience, and so we're finding in our surveys with our iPad that people, like I said, once they start using the iPad, that's where they really want to see the journal. We also have an optimized web version for smartphones for both of our journals, and of course it's the most portable, quick, easily available version out there. We have it mounted on the Highwire platform, and we do have online CME available there. Of course, the problem is that the space on a phone is small, so no one's going to read whole articles, but we can certainly get short things out there. And at this point, we would like to have a cross-platform HTML5 app, which we are working on for our readers, but we don't have one at this point. So just to talk a couple minutes about derivative versions. So we have what we call patient pages. So these are published on the online site only. We have 2 editors who monthly choose an article that they rewrite in the lay lexicon for patients. And then we are finding that the hits that we get on our patient pages are the highest of any for any of our articles, by twice as much as the most popular articles we have. And we also do press releases because we are weekly. We choose 2 articles a week. We work with our press office. We write a summary. It's a derivative version. It's basically a capsulization of the information in the article that we send out for press releases. And then we are, at this point, counting over 4 billion media impressions per year. That means someone who has somehow been exposed to one of the media releases. Social media, we have Facebook, Google+, Twitter, and we try to send announcements out on our Facebook, on our social media, and try to send figures, something that will relate back to the article, get people to go to our other sites. And I mentioned earlier we do have some other publications at the American Academy of Neurology. We have a tabloid newsletter for members. I think it's about 24 pages, called Neurology Today, and basically most of these issues that come out twice a month are devoted to some reporting of some article in neurology, which is summarized, and then experts are called in to opine about the various facets of the research and repercussions, conclusions, etc. We also have a patient magazine called Neurology Now, and so when there is a breakthrough, and this comes out every 2 months, but when there is something that relates to patients, they will summarize our articles and then call in patients, interweave the stories of patients with those conditions, and talk about the new treatments and that sort of thing, and relate everything back to our articles. And we do have a LinkedIn group with our academy, and so we try to capsulize again. We try to make it 4 to 5 sentences every 2 weeks about an important article. Within the journal, we have comment sidebars with a number of our articles where we believe that If there's something particularly interesting about some facet of the article, we capsulize it in those little sidebar comments. In the Neurology Clinical Practice article, because we do want to really cater to the everyday practicing neurologist, we do a sidebar for each article with a bulleted list of the take-home points from that article, because we know there's some people who won't get to read the whole article for a while. And we're working on summaries for all our neurology journal articles. We're trying to get set up so that we can have a sidebar summary of take-home points again there. And then each week we have a podcast. We choose one article from our weekly issue, and there is an interview. We have a panel of about 40 people now who work on coordinating the podcast, and they always interview one of the authors and bring up various facets of the article and relate it back to the original article and publication. I mentioned that we have some local editions. We give the editors of these editions the leeway to judge the articles that are most relevant to their localities. We have editions in Argentina, China, Hungary, and Korea. And then we are at the present time setting up an edition in India in English language. One of the things that Bert talked about earlier were the mini sites, and we are on the Highwire platform, and we have talked with a number of our interest sections. We have about 60 different interest sections at the American Academy of Neurology, and tried to gauge their interest in having either spin-off journals or some kind of a mini site, such as Bert were talking about, and we've got a tremendous response that people are interested in having, if they can't have their own spin-off journal because there just isn't the demand, or we run out of articles after a month or something like that, they would love to have an area that they could call their own. It would be kind of a community area, but also an area where they could put the latest information in their field. So we have some Affinity Sites coming up. We want to launch our first one this fall. These would be subspecialty areas of neurology that would feature articles that are submitted especially either for use on that site itself, or also the sites would feature articles that are published in the main journal that then would be pulled into that page. And we would include like a blog or other news in that area to, again, make it more of a community site. And as we see it, for some of those that are borderline, whether it's really worth our taking the risk to publish a spin-off journal, we could use it as a placeholder to see what kind of interest and usage we get. And so this is a mock-up, kind of fuzzy, unfortunately, of and Bert showed some better mini sites, but shows an editorial area, an area for articles, a news area, and a research watch area. And these are done with the Drupal platform, and so the boxes can be moved around. There's a lot of manipulation available here, so we could pretty much personalize these sites according to the community area. The other initiative that we're very excited about that we're going to be building on is our evidence-based medicine module project. We have about 22, 24 modules that are training modules that the Academy has developed for different training purposes during a neurologist's career. And the evidence-based medicine project is kind of similar to an ebook, but a little different in that everything is related to actual articles in our journal. So what our development team is going to be doing is choosing an article from the journal to actually deconstruct and to put in learning links that would take readers to other information, such as interactive tools, videos, and the other things that we have in these modules, including clinical calculators, the ability to go in and manipulate data and search your own data, basically be an extension of a regular article, but interactive, that would engage visual, auditory, kinesthetic learning styles, wherever people are coming from. And of course, this will be complete with CMA certification and other functions. So this is a project that we're working on now with Highwire. I couldn't find a good example, but this is one page. There's an article from a table, part of a table from Neurology on the right, and then someone's data on the left. But the link is, it says click here for effect size tool, and what it does is allow someone to go in, put in their own data, their own cohort data, and see how it compares to the data that is available, or how it would be compared to other data depending on the size of the population, et cetera. So again, I think we have a few unique things here, but most journals now are trying to reuse, repurpose content as much as possible, and I think that especially when you have a lot of content and different ways to enhance it, different platforms to put it on, it's very exciting these days. So are we going to wait for questions to the end? Yeah, so we'll have questions at the end, and I'd be interested in hearing what other people are doing. We're always looking for new ways to repurpose our content. Thank you.